is, okay, Heather's working on her version of a bond. Okay, now if Heather disappeared tomorrow, we could still go ahead and start working on our own bonds and putting them to the banks. It's a question of doing it in numbers, because the banks will turn around and say, oh, my goodness, that's fraud. And you'll say, well, is it? Well, what is it you're doing? And why is it that you continue to do it, yet you won't accept my signature on this other piece of paper and place it as cash in the account that I've told you to put it in? All right?
The reason we haven't done anything with the bond yet is because there's a way to write them, which Heather's working on, that puts some boundaries on what they can do with it. So it's essentially if you're walking into a bank and saying, I'm prepared to deposit some of my value into this bank, but these are the things you can't do with it. Because otherwise, as Mark talked about this last week too, the way that they trade on in these very private backdoor platforms and what they do with our value.
Yeah.
So putting boundaries on that, otherwise all we're doing is reinvigorating the system. And if you do get a chance, which you will, if you decide to go down this road, and this is the way it looks like to me, that we are going to get an opportunity with the bond that Heather is writing to go to a bank and say, I am prepared to deposit some of my value in this bank. I'm prepared to pay you a fee for acting as a transaction centre and for your services of issuing me with a card or whatever it looks like. But do I want to go and do it for $10 billion or even $5 billion? Absolutely not.
No.
For the absolute minimum that I need in order to do what I want to do and need to do over the next 6 to 12 months, while we're in a transition period of getting people, organisations, vendors to embrace and adopt the IUV system. That's it. Minimum. Because
I
I know that there are people out there who will go, okay, well, this is my bond. I'm just going to get $10 billion, and I'm not going to worry about the IUV. I'm not going to worry about a transition into a new system. I'm not going to worry about any of that because I'm okay now. And that's fine. That's their choice, but it's not mine.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And the whole point of waiting for Heather is because she has that experience and put those restraints in place, because it's really important to stop them from monetizing it, because they'll go and do the same thing. So yes, we could write our own bonds, and we, Heather has the experience and should be able to do it in a far more efficient way than we could. We could eventually put something together that would work, but it would be trial and error, and of course there's a failure rate associated with that. But
there's
what
also
Lisa said is
influx of once that comes out is that
not putting too much value back. Not putting too much value back in the system is really, really, really important. It's done by what you would call absolute necessity. It's to stop guys with guns coming around and kicking you out of your house, for instance.
But the thing that will happen, the more people that become aware of their own value, the more people that become aware of how the system actually works, who's actually going to go into a bank for a loan? Really? Because you know that the bank has nothing to loan you. So, the more people that become aware, the less people are going to basically beg the bank for money, because they'll know that they are the creditors.
Yeah. In fact, what it does, if we did it in enough numbers, we would actually convert the banking system from being what it is into being our transaction system.
Exactly.
If everybody did.
Which is what they're meant to be.
Yeah, it is. It is. It would work. But it all gets back to doing it in great enough numbers, which means, once this process starts, is getting the information out there as quickly as possible about the shift that's taking place. But again, based on the responses that we have where people sort of struggle with the concept of value, it's a much bigger communications issue to introduce this to people who've never heard anything about all of this in their lives. And well, we've got quite a task ahead of us, folks. Quite a task.
I feel it's important right now, if I can, real quick. There's a couple of things I want to say, just based on some of the things that are coming up in the chat room. First of all, what's happening right now is the system that has been designed for control and greed and manipulation and corruption for the last hundreds of years, being planned for probably much longer than that. Some would argue thousands. But as far as banking goes, the last few hundred years at least, is being unwound right now. It's being unbound. It's like a rubber band ball or a ball of yarn. It's being untied string by string. You know, the options are you can sit back and you can do nothing, or you can be a part of a plan to implement great change for yourself personally, and for humanity. How do you want it to be? You know, this isn't about some big master plan that's supposed to be perfect for everybody. It's supposed to create the freedom that allows people to create for themselves what's going to work best for them. Doesn't have to be one streamlined approach. It can be many depending on what people desire to manifest in their lives. You know, so what's being created right now are a set of options. The foundation is being laid to allow people the opportunity to choose what they want to make them happy, to make them feel fulfilled so they can thrive in whatever way that looks best for them. So a lot of the negativity that comes up right now is, you know, people saying, but there's, you know, people struggling, and there's, you know, people are losing their homes and they got to eat and all these things. And I get it. I've dedicated my life to service. I do these radio shows to help spread whatever message or whatever new updates are available because I want to play a part in making a difference. And I realize that most of the people that are listening to this call, most of the people that are in the chat room, they feel the exact same way, but they're empathic and they feel so much suffering from others, and I understand that. My fiance, very empathic. She feels the emotions of so many, and I understand that hurts sometimes. But I want to read something from a blog post I put out today that speaks to that a little bit, just as a segue to wherever it is that we're going in the next part. Just real quickly, if I can. I wrote, as the absolute plan is perfect in all its glory, so too is the timing of events unfolding. There is nothing that is behind schedule. The schedule is right on track. All things are in perfect alignment at all times. Acceptance of this universal truth is the key to happiness and inner peace. To all those who are struggling, send them love. Let them know that you care. Let them know that you love them and that you are there for them. Hold a space that sings softly into their ear that everything will be okay. Help them if you are in a position to do so. Support them in any way that you can. But I implore you, do not take on their burden, as it is not yours to take. For to take on the suffering of another is to rob them of an experience of their own design, manufactured for their own soul growth. And as the last remaining experiences of suffering are purged, so too is the cosmic signal given for the launch into an era of peace and prosperity. I felt that needed to be said because there is we all know we're all doing this because we realize that the poverty level in the world is beyond the level of acceptance based on how many resources that the planet has for the disposal for all souls, not just the select few. So we understand, to all those people that are making comments about people suffering, believe me, we get it. And that's why we're doing what we're doing, to create a space that will allow some of these problems that plague our world now to be a part of the past and not be a part of our future. So I just wanted to read that part.
We also just came back from spending time in a third world country. I mean, we saw it firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, we've got to fix our problems first, and if we fix our problems, then the rest will rapidly follow. Now, there's